Thanks.
Welcome back to the Ultimate Homeschool Community Podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Hernandez. And today we have a very special guest. Candace is with us all the way from Florida. So welcome, Candace. And do you go by Candy
Thanks.
or Candace? Which one do you like?
I go by both, so there you go. Both work.
Well, I'm so good to have you on. I'm super excited for what we're going to be talking about today because it's near and dear to my heart. And, micro schools have been coming around for quite a few years now. And when COVID hit, it definitely boomed our movement. Can you share a little bit with us, just about yourself, kind of how you got into the movement? And then we're going to go right into our main topic, which is all about the micro school retreat that is coming up.
Thank you. So I started back in 2018, even before I knew what the word microschool was. And I came from the homeschooling world. So my husband and I, we've homeschooled for over 20 years now, but about 10 years into my homeschool journey, I was like, is there anything else? I have a really big family, so I have 6 kids, and I felt like I was in Groundhog's Day over and over and over, same thing. And I was like, there needs to be something different. And so when I discovered microschooling, that was my way of, aha, this is exactly what I was looking for. So that's how I joined. And then 2020 happened. And then, I actually wasn't even sure I was going to micro school during that year, which is so hilarious because now looking back, I'm like, that was the turning point that
Mhm.
made everything what it is now. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of how I got started.
Gotcha. But having a big family tends to seem to be like there's several moms that are like, well, I'm already teaching 6 kids, or I'm already teaching 4 or 5 or 3 or whatever. And so like, what's a couple more? And this is needed anyways. And so it's like it ends up being not like a super easy transition, but it is a transition that's like the next step. Because like you, I also was in Groundhog Day, I feel like, and every day was running together, and my kids were really the ones that were missing that socialization. They're always like, oh, but if you homeschool, they won't be socialized and blah, blah, blah. And so we found ourselves a couple of co-ops and we quickly grew to enjoy those so much. And it's been so beneficial for my own children and for myself because, when you start to have that community, when you create that village around education, you really feel supported and like you're capable of doing more. Um, can you share, a little bit about that? Because I feel like this really is a good transition into why we're having this retreat. Because the community element of it is so important, especially for micro school founders, because we are doing something so different, something so unique, and all of us have our own spin on what that looks like. And a lot of times we feel very alone, even though there's several of us out there. We don't see them on a day-to-day basis. And, talking online is great, but um, that doesn't always fit, like solve the problem. You don't always feel that connected.
For sure. Yeah, that is actually why I want to do the retreat is I love the in-person things. So, um, I guess there's so many things to talk about. When I was very first started as like a new mom, I actually started homeschooling when I was pregnant. So I was super like, this is not fun at all. I hate homeschooling. That was my first year. And then I went to my first homeschool conference and I saw people who looked like me. And I was, of course, not pregnant anymore. So I was like, hey, the world can go on. But
Yes.
I evolved and changed. So I would join somebody else's co-op, and then I was that mom who was always running late because had babies and kids and diapers and bring your own playpen and all that stuff. And then I got to, hey, I'm going to start my own Friday co-op, and we rented out the community center, and then we were there on Mondays and on Fridays. And then I was tired of always being the one that was like 150% in. And
Yeah.
then you would see somebody post and go, best homeschool life ever. I skipped everything and went to the beach today. And they'd skipped my thing to go to the beach. And I was like, that is so irritating. So I decided nobody had any skin in the game. And so I decided if I charged tuition instead of just having to be there to be part of my co-op, that would be what would make it. And that's when I discovered microschooling. And the first microschool that I found was an hour away from where I live. And they didn't even know they were a microschool. They didn't even know that word existed. But when I visited them, I was like, this is like a homeschool co-op. There was 35 kids and the families were very involved and they were all there just being this huge community for each other. And I was like, this is what I'm looking for. The homeschool co-op that meets all the time, that charges tuition to make sure everybody is in the game. They want to be there to make this community really great. So that's kind of how I got it all started. But fast forward, I made like a million mistakes along the way, and it's
Yes.
shocking that I even survived my first 3 months because the person I hired quit, and she took two of her kids with her. And I look back and I think, why didn't I just give up? I couldn't give up because my own kids, I was building this for my own family. And
Yes.
and then I also had to transition from like free homeschool co-ops to now I'm charging tuition, I'm renting a space, I am paying teachers to come in. And anyway, I lost a lot of money that first year, but I discovered that I loved it and I loved the excitement of trying to figure things out. I still remember where I was when I created my first Sunbiz account to like create a business. The first time I took somebody's credit card and I was like, do I look like a total fake right now? Swiping a credit card. I still don't really like that. So I do now all of my payments online. So people pay me before they see me because I still have my insecure moments of swiping
Yeah,
a credit
the
card.
money mindset. Yeah, it happens.
I know, so funny, but anyway, but I decided my very first year I went to somebody's conference. It was up in Washington, D.C., and I wasn't even sure I wanted to go. Well, I wanted to go, but I wasn't sure that I could afford it. And we planned this trip to go take it up there. And now looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have done this a long time ago. But I didn't even know that I could write it off on my taxes. Like I was so new, I did not know that a workshop trip was a deductible item. So anyway, it was a learning experience for me, but I just loved being around the people that were there. I'm still in contact with, I think, two of the people that I met on that very first outing that I did. But it's awesome to see along the way the connections that you make and just feeling like when you're all alone. I still remember I texted that very first lady that I met at that conference. Oh, it was probably 3 years later. And I said, oh, I just had one of my families say that they're not going to be with me anymore. And I don't even know what to do. I'm really nervous about this. And she wrote me back and she goes, it's going to be okay. You got this. Try this,
Right.
or this. And I was like, oh, okay. And the people ended up not leaving my program, but I was just really grateful to have somebody to reach out when I
Good.
was in like desperation moment. But anyway, yeah, it's just all about having somebody to confide in when you hit the little gravel patches along the way.
Absolutely. So you mentioned a few things that I want to touch on. One is that in your first year, you made like a million mistakes. I don't think any of us starting out any business or doing any hobby or having anything new that we do isn't going to have a million mistakes, right? But yet we feel so alone, like, oh my gosh, I'm the only one that's dealing with this. And then when we start coming together and finding out, oh, you had a million mistakes too. Oh, you had 2 million mistakes. Yeah, let's be friends, you know? And the money thing, number two, that is so hard for so many. You know, we have such a heart for education as educators and moms. You know, we're like, oh, but can I really charge that much? Or like, is it really worth that much? Is there really that much value in what I'm doing? Because these people over here are doing this free co-op. So like, how do I compete with that? And we have to remind ourselves like we are not in competition with that they are totally on their own ball game, and we're over here doing something completely different with a completely different value mindset, and it's hard, you know, but this is the importance of like you went to that workshop and you felt 10,000 times better because you had people that you could like, oh, these are real people and they're having similar problems that I'm having, and we're able to strive together, you know, and thrive together. And I too went on my one of my first trips this last year actually, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I could do this, like, is everybody gonna be okay at home, and my husband's gonna be taking care of them, and it's the first time with, you know, my toddler away from mommy, like how are they gonna do that? I mean, everybody's fine. Everybody's fine. And I enjoyed myself because it was great because mommy got some me time. And I met some amazing friends that I still talk to this day. One that's actually in my state. I've gone to like visit her and we've enjoyed that time together. But the same thing, like I talked to her about so many things. That one person that I met, they become like your lifeline, but they also become like your cheerleading squad. And I think that's what's great about getting together for these workshops because they not only you're getting together to learn and hone in on your skills, but you're also getting together for that cheerleading squad of like, yes, we can do this, yes, this is needed, yes, we are impacting generations and generations to come, like we are creating the future generation and how education happens. And I think that's something that when we sit back and think like, okay, yeah, maybe this is like you were thinking, oh, I don't know if I can afford this. We don't know what we don't know. Like I didn't know. I was very new into my nonprofit and I didn't think that I could like do gas mileage or different things like that. And some lady told one of my tax friends, they're like they're very knowledgeable about taxes, but they're not a CPA or anything. She's like, you could be writing off those gas mileage. I'm like, why didn't I think of that? Like it was thousands of dollars that I was missing out on. And I was in tears because I'm like, I just wasted how much money? Like I could have gotten this back. Anyways, so we all make those we all have those issues and it's like it's so nice to know, oh, I'm not the only one.
Yes, for sure, for sure. Anyway, yeah, I know there's so many things that I wish I would have known. In fact, I was just thinking this maybe like 3 months ago. I thought, if I only knew what I know now when I very first started my micro school, like things would have been so different. But I think it was the journey along the way that made me into
Hmm.
who I am. And um, anyway, I'm just so grateful for those first parents who took
Trusted. Yeah.
who trusted in me and were like, I think this is going to work out.
Yes. I
So
think
I had
that's our
somebody
biggest
describe this once.
yes.
Yeah, somebody just, it was my doctor. She said, I just put my kids in this program, and she was describing a micro school, but she says, imagine that there's a raft out in the middle of the ocean, like coming from Cuba, and you don't know if it's going to float or sink. But you're like, you know what? That looks way better than what I'm doing right now. So we went with the raft.
Yes. Oh my
Kind
gosh,
of like
yes.
you were 100% describing a micro school right now, but I feel like my micro school raft is way stronger and sturdier than it was when I very first started. But anyway, that took thousands of hours of books and seminars and conferences and meeting with people and individual conversations, and also tons of mistakes when I didn't know the right thing to say to a parent, or just not communicating the way that I probably should have, but I didn't know at the beginning. So yeah, I started in 2018, so I think I'm on year 8 right now. There's just so many things. Like they say, how do you eat an elephant? It's impossible to describe, but I am still so grateful that I did it. It feels very liberating, and I do love when I connect with all the other educators. We do these dinners, so I've done, I think, 23 of them since November last year, and I travel all over the state to do dinners with people because I just love the building community part.
Yeah.
And
Over
it also
food.
helps with the directory that I do. So I do Microschool Florida directory. And I just love meeting people in all the different parts. But I feel like at every single meal, there's somebody who gets really like emotional. They're telling their story and they're just so grateful in their hearts to have found people who are going through the same struggles that they are. And it really touches my heart. And I think that's the reason why I keep doing these things is, um, sometimes it's tricky. Like I'll end my micro school, we'll hop in the car, we'll drive 5 hours up to Jacksonville. And I'm like, okay, that is an investment to just get there and be there for the people. But, like a few years ago, one of the ladies joined on, she lives just outside of Jacksonville, but she goes, nobody's up here. I feel so alone. And I thought, I don't want her to feel that way. And so I'm just doing my little part to help everybody be connected.
Absolutely. And that's really what we do here with the homeschool community and the microschool network that we have on Facebook is really so that people don't feel alone. There's several microschool groups, right? And it's really just like you find your tribe, just like with homeschooling groups, just like with anything, right? Um, there's different types of micro school founders. And so being a part of these directories, being a part of the groups, being a part of the foundations, you really are able to network and connect with those that you most uh, get along with, or that you have the most similarities to. And that's really how we found each other, which is so great.
Yeah.
Because I know it's much easier now that we have social media, but it's also much harder because we are so far apart from each other. And so these retreats, these workshops, they they allow us to be together for a time that we might never otherwise have, because it's not scheduled. So many schedules are so busy. And it's hard sometimes to get away. It's like, oh, I could be doing this or I could be doing that. But in actuality, these workshops, these retreats, they are putting into yourself. They're pouring into yourself. We're serving all the time, serving, serving, serving. And so many times we forget to serve ourselves, or like pour into ourselves. And workshops are great. Don't get me wrong. I love webinars. I love, CEUs. I love learning more about education and communication and skills for the kids and all of that. But like, how often do we actually sit there and just be like, okay, I'm going to pour into me and I'm going to connect on like just a personal level with somebody, and have that time to really just let it out and communicate.
So awesome. So I actually found the spot for a retreat by accident. I was looking for a camping spot for my micro school because I was like, that would be super fun. Just take the kids and families to all do a camping thing. So anyway, I was looking everywhere, and then I discovered a glamping spot just, at Jonathan Dickinson State Park. And all of a sudden I was like, what? This cannot be a micro school kid thing. The educators are going to be the ones who this is for. And so a few years ago, I tried to find a camping spot and they were all booked. South Florida booked super fast. And
Yes.
so this was, I think in July. I think I booked this in July. I booked four glamping tents. They were all next to each other. And I was like, I don't even know if this is going to work out, but it feels like it's the right thing to do. And also, the summer before, I had read all of these books about how to build community so I could make my Facebook group better. And they kept talking about these campfire moments. And I thought, my campfire were the dinners that we did all across the state. But I was like, we could actually have a real campfire. That would be awesome. So, anyway,
Absolutely.
that's kind of how that all started. But anyway, the idea is to have like 10 to 20 people come together. And if you are not a camper and you're like, I don't want to do it, they are air conditioned tents, which I think is actually hilarious. Not that we would really need it, but anyway, air conditioned tents with little mini fridges and electricity. And I don't know, sounds
This is
perfect for
glamping.
camping. This is glamping, exactly. But I was like, that just sounds so fun to me. And so, anyway, I booked it and I was like, this is going to work out no matter what, just because, it's 10 to 20 people. How hard can it be to find like-minded friends to come and spend time together? And then I've divided it into like little sections. So, if you only want to come, so Allie, she is a mentor and colleague of mine down here in South Florida. Her place is awesome. And she's been doing this, I don't know, maybe like 15 years or maybe even 20, I don't know, but her place is awesome. And so she's hosting our luncheon on Friday, and she's teaching a conference type panel, not panel, but a conference thing about all of the cool lessons that she's learned. I think she calls it scar tissue, building up scar tissue to be an entrepreneur and to just be able to do a business like this. And anyway, so she's really awesome doing that. And then we're going to head up to the glamping spot, and then you are going to be hosting your thing about your book.
Yes.
And that is going to be really awesome. And we'll be there at the actual site. It'll be so fun to be out in the woods and do things. And then if you wanted to sleep over, you could. And if you don't, you could just show up the next morning and do our breakfast thing and more, just ways for us to bond. I actually feel like all of the educators there are there to help each other. So
Mhm.
we'll be doing that. And then I have kayaks that we can do. I've also found out that they're having a really awesome event at the park. It's like their once a year really awesome thing. It's like starts at noon. So they have like live music and different things. So I was like, hey, that's kind of fun. It like piggybacks right off of the end of our thing. So there's
Yeah,
lots of
that's
things going
awesome. Okay, and so the dates for this, can you share a little bit about the dates, the times, and
on.
some
Yes.
of the details?
I believe it's the 18th and 19th. Oh, I'm so bad if I can't remember it, but it's in October. It's in less than a month, which is going to be really fun. And we have like a friend discount going on too. So if you bring a friend, you both get a discount. So anyway, the idea is
Yes.
to just have uh, low budget, full experience. There's lots of options in there because I just want everybody to have that moment to be connecting with each other. And I think that's what we all want most of all is to just feel like we're not alone.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So it's the 17th and 18th in October, which is a Friday and Saturday.
Thank you.
And I know you were saying it's in South Florida. We will have more details in the show notes as well. And
Yes.
the biggest part, like Candy was saying, is that it is about the connection. So we're not just there just to learn. Yes, it's great like to have those extra lunch and learns and to have we will be sharing, I will be sharing about our book, we'll be sharing about community and building a village. Not only just a village like with your parents, but like the village of with your educators, because that's really important when you're well connected and to have that support, like you were stating before in your dinners, people have felt like, oh my goodness, I don't feel alone now. And it just changes their whole outlook. Maybe there's somebody out there that feels like, okay, this is the end. I'm going to close my doors because it's just not happening. Or they maybe feel discouraged because, they can't afford to be at their location anymore. There's no easy part about being an entrepreneur, and there's no easy part about running a micro school. It is a heart work, it is a service work. And a lot of times, we put in a lot more than we supposedly get out, right? But there's like tenfold that we get out of it, and it doesn't always happen right in front of us, but it's like we're pouring into the future and those future generations. And I know with the glamping tents, they are I've seen pictures, they are very nice, very upscale, which is great because some of us don't do tent camping. But you can definitely enjoy this tent because there's real beds, y'all. It's not like sleeping bags on the floor.
Yes, there are real beds. That's funny.
Yes.
So anyway, and I was like, even if you don't want to sleep over, you can go to a hotel nearby. It's not like there's a million ways to do what we're
To make
doing.
it work. Yes, yes,
Yes.
absolutely. Well, so if there's any like reasons like why specifically you feel like the educators should come, what would you say would be like your top reasons for why this retreat and like why in the fall? Because I know we were talking about like having a couple of these, so I know there's another one possibly coming as well. But just like what is something that they will get out of it? It's like, yes, like this is the whole reason why you want to come.
I think my whole reason why is just the community and just you know, I'm always looking for those awesome things where you're like just hanging out and just being your true self and being a little vulnerable with each other. I love those opportunities. And then I feel like so many times out in front of my students, my families, and things, I'm trying to present like, "Hey, I got it all together." But sometimes it's just nice to be like, "Hey, here's my who I really am. I'm struggling with this, this, and this," and then we can all help each other like brainstorm ideas on how to be better. But then also just South Florida is really beautiful this time of year, so I don't know.
Absolutely.
I was even thinking, you don't have to live in Florida to come here. You can come from anywhere.
Yes.
There's an airport just outside, and I actually have like a big Sprinter van. I call it the Amazon van. So it's a 12 passenger van. So I was like, if anyone actually just wants to come with me, we can just pile it in like my micro school kids. But I think that would be the number one reasons to come. And then also just Allie, she's awesome at her advice and her consultations are totally worth it, but just being able to get her experience and whatever that is, I feel like that's a really amazing benefit for coming as well.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Yes. Um, so I'm also coming from out of state, so I'll be coming from Tennessee. So there definitely will be some from outside of Florida. And I think that's, the fun part is A, you're getting to travel, and B, it can be a write-off for your business expenses. So That's super exciting, right? When we're like, oh yes, okay, this counts. So I can definitely get credit for this later down the road. And so that's always a benefit. I know we were talking about, a fall in Florida is way better than summer in Florida. And spring is also great. And we were talking about, possibly doing this not just this time, but in the spring as well, depending on how this one goes. So we definitely are going to be making this one super, super special, just so that way everyone has the ability to, like you said, get build that community.
Yeah. And my thing is just make them really small. I feel like you get a lot more out of it when there's not like 100
Hundreds of
people
people.
around. I
Yeah.
like those kind of events too. But the
Yeah.
ones that I love most of all are very small,
Yeah.
intimate moments. And I think I make my best friends that way. So there you go.
Yes. Yes, it's a different atmosphere when there's a whole lot of people and you can kind of only get like very short top tier level conversations. You don't really get the depth that you would when you have more time with less. So which
Yeah.
means there's only a few limited spots left, and we want to make sure that we have enough spaces for bringing a friend. But if you want to just reiterate, um, there is a website that they can go and find the information. We'll make sure to have it. And there is a discount going on right now. I'm not we talked about having it for a little while, but it's not going to be forever. So you definitely want to
Yeah.
get in on it
It's for a
sooner than
couple of
later.
weeks. Yeah, I need to make sure that we can get the t-shirts and all those things that we need to get planned for everybody. But yeah, it's less than a month away, so that's actually really exciting.
It is for sure. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Candy, and sharing all about your own story and about this wonderful retreat that we have coming in. We're super excited that we're going to be a part of it, and looking forward to it.
Sounds great. Thanks, Tiffany.
Absolutely. Happy homeschooling, everyone. See you next time.